Hello and welcome back to another Last of Us review, and today we're reviewing Season 1, Episode 7, Left Behind, and this episode adapts the entirety of the Left Behind DLC of The Last of Us. So let's jump right into this. So this episode picks up with Ellie and Joel and dealing with the immediate effects of Joel's stabbing from Episode 6. But the main plot of this episode is a flashback to us finding out what happened to Ellie before the events of the first episode, who was Riley, what happened to Riley, and how was Ellie bit. This episode is just really about that, but it's bookended with Joel trying to say Ellie leave, and Ellie deciding to stay and try and save Joel. They really streamlined this story, and it works in my opinion. I really like what they've done, and taken more time to focus on just past Ellie, because in the DLC you have two timelines going back and forth, and you're flipping back and forth between Ellie trying to save Joel and Ellie in the past. I like that they completely dropped the Ellie trying to save Joel, other than the bookend at the start and the finish, and focus solely on Ellie and Riley's relationship and their kind of last day together. It works really well for the episode, and it is definitely carried well by the two leads. I am surprised how well Bella Ramsey's acting was, and the chemistry between the two is really good. I am just really shocked because I was going into this episode with the belief that I'm about to witness the worst episode of The Last of Us this season, but no, it is way better than it has credit for. There is a few issues here and there, but overall, Bella Ramsey just carries this episode, and it is just really entertaining. It is shocking how much they stick to the source material. Like The Last of Us does change a few things and streamlines things quite a lot, to the point where the journey is completely different, it's just the end result is the same. But in this episode, the entire journey is more or less the same, other than maybe them going to the Halloween shop last instead of first. It is mad how close they are to the story, and how much attention to detail they paid. Like, they're using the exact same music that Ellie and Riley dance to. They are using the Left Behind music at the end, which is absolutely amazing. And the mall looks just like from the game. I love the look of the mall. It was such a well-designed set, and it looks so realistic. It is so good how The Last of Us has each episode, and I keep mentioning this, each episode looks completely distinctive and completely unique, and this episode definitely looks like one of the best episodes, because I like urban environment settings. So last episode was very much rural. It's good we got another urban environment episode. This episode just has lots of little moments that really work. I really like the scenes like when Ellie sees an elevator for the first time and messes around with it. We've all wanted to do that. It's those little moments that really help make this episode and improve it more and more and more. But by the end of this, it did feel a little fillery, and it was very much relying on Easter egg and references at points. This episode is well written, and the pacing is good. It's not like last episode or other episodes of The Last of Us where they have an issue with maybe at the end of the episode or at the start the pacing is a little off with it being too slow, or at times way too fast. This episode, it runs about 61 minutes, and its pacing from start to finish is good. It tells a very personal and slow story, so there's no real parts of the thing where they have to rush through the story to get it done, which really does help this episode in my opinion, because the last episodes do have a case of, even though they have like these epically long run times, having pacing issues. Because this is focusing on a sole DLC, not the main story, the focus of what they're adapting is a lot smaller, so they are not rushing through big moments like they do in the show at times. Now let's move over to my one big issue about this episode, because everything else about this episode is good. The acting's good, the story's good, the locations are good, the pacing's good, everything's good. It just feels a bit fillery, but filler is not bad. Sometimes it's okay, and I'm okay with this filler. It does feel like filler, but that's okay. But the one big issue I have is going to be the ending. So 3, 2, 1, spoiler territory. So this episode ends with Ellie and Riley being bit, and we see what happens. However, I don't like it. In the episode, we see Ellie and Riley playing games. About halfway through, it pans out and it goes into this doll shop. It's very creepy, very well shot, and we see an infected. And you're like, oh, okay, infected. And it teases Ellie maybe hearing Riley getting bit, but no, that's them going to the horror shop. And then you have the dance, the kiss scene, and then the infected charges in. And one infected ends up biting both Ellie and Riley, and that's it. And I just really didn't like that, because in the game, it is a horde infected, and Ellie and Riley have a chase scene, and they kill a couple infected to find out their bit after they escape. And I like that more than what we got in the show, because in the show they're like, oh, it's empty, foreshadowing. No, there was one infected. I definitely think we should have seen more infected, because it's the last time we're going to see the infected. And I definitely am having an issue. This is my only big issue with The Last of Us so far. And this episode is kind of the breaking point for me. Why are they so scared to show action scenes? Because the action scene in this episode was kind of all over the place, wasn't well done, and it feels like they're just too scared to put more than the bare minimum amount of actors on there, and they're trying to save money somewhere. I just don't like how there are so little infected. There should have been at least 4 or 5 infected in this scene. Like, if you get rid of the chase scene, that's fine, but have more than just one infected be the reason that they get bit. It just annoys me so much. Maybe because we've going through all these episodes and there are so many action scenes other than the end of episode 5, which is so underwhelming and so badly shot and so like kind of boring. This is the breaking point for me, and with this probably being the last time we'll see the infected, because I doubt they're going to show them in episode 9, because I know episode 8 is going to follow the humans and deal with that drama. No infected there, and I definitely call it they're going to streamline the entirety of episode 9 and go straight to the Fireflies. There'll be no infected here, so the last time we see the infected is just this one infected is very underwhelming, and that is the ending of this episode. It gives me this underwhelming feel, and this is the only time where I've watched The Last of Us, got to the end and been like, I don't want to watch anymore for a bit. I want some time away from this episode. Now, with the overall review, I would have to say this is a good episode. It's not great, it is just enjoyable, well written, watchable. It's a good episode, and I have to say a 7 out of 10. There's nothing special about this episode, and it feels definitely the most fillery out of all the episodes so far, and it's definitely the only episode I will not rewatch when I eventually rewatch the entirety of The Last of Us Season 1. It's just that ending which really puts this episode down for me, and I'm really disappointed by the end of this episode. But that is just my opinion. What are your thoughts down below? Did you love this episode? Did you hate it? I'd like to know everything down below in the comments. But that's it for me today, so make sure to like and subscribe to help the channel and to keep up to date with all Last of Us content. So goodbye, peace out, and I'll talk to you in my next video.